Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Magandang umaga. Welcome to ADB Babuay. Now we are going to start opening of the Digital Strategies for Development Forum 2017. The DSDF is ADB annual knowledge event focusing on ICT for development in Asia Pacific. It has been organized in collaboration with Department of ICT in the Philippines as well as other international development partners since 2013. For this year, the DSDF is co-organized with Department of ICT, Government of Philippines, Asia Pacific Telecommunity, UNESCO, and Asia Society for Social Improvement and Sustainable Transformation, ASSIST. And the main theme of DSDF 2017 is the fourth industrial revolution and its implication to development with focusing on future skills and education on day one and smart cities and mobility on day two. As growing interest in the use of advanced technology in development program, we specially included the high-level technology roundtable discussion session in the morning tomorrow as part of DSDF 2017, where we expect more staff will participate. Without further ado, I'd like to call on Mr. Stephen Groff, Vice President of Asian Development Bank, for his welcome remarks. Mr. Groff is responsible for a full range of ADB operations in Asia, East Asia, Southeast Asia, and Pacific. Mr. Groff, for your welcome remarks.
Thank you, SY. DIC Secretary ASEC John Henry Naga, APT Secretary General Kung Ariwang, delegates, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Magandang umaga. FinTech, artificial intelligence, nanotechnology. We are bombarded daily with the news of the latest disruptive technology. Many people fear that the greater use of artificial intelligence and robots could eliminate a wide range of jobs, not only in manufacturing, but in the services sectors as well. ICT is also expected to have disruptive impacts on urban areas, which currently drive economic growth in many countries across Asia, and where more than 40% of the population of the region resides. By 2050, more than 2/3 of the region's population will reside in these same urban areas. The scale, speed, and density of Asia's urbanization presents many challenges. For example, the rapid increase in motorized vehicles is creating more congestion, air pollution, traffic accidents, and greenhouse gas emissions. We are indeed facing extraordinary challenges. How can we cope with these changes? How can we protect jobs? How can we make our economies more competitive? Fortunately, we do have experience we can draw on. The first industrial revolution replaced horsepower with steam power. The second industrial revolution replaced steam engines with electricity. The third industrial revolution harnessed information technology and automation. And now we are on the precipice of the fourth industrial revolution. While formidable, 4IR offers great potential for inclusive growth as it is marked by a fusion of digital technologies with biotechnologies, by exponentially fast processing power and machine learning, and by the Internet of Things, linking assets to data worldwide. Advancements in technology permeate every aspect of social and economic activity, and indeed, human life. Over the next 2 days, we will focus on 3 promising areas for inclusive development: smart education, smart cities, and smart mobility. A great example of how ICT can bring about inclusive development through skills training and entrepreneurship in urban areas is exemplified by some of ADB's work in Myanmar. In a country where only 1 in 5 people have internet access, ADB is supporting telecom companies to develop mobile apps in agriculture, finance, and health, including maternal health. We're also supporting Geek Girls Myanmar, a network which teaches women how to use the internet and offers support for women entrepreneurs and innovators with the aim of bringing female tech geeks to the forefront of change in that country. In Timor-Leste, Asia's youngest country and indeed a fragile state, a focus on training government officials to manage projects, budgets, and adhere to widely accepted good practice has helped improve the lives of these citizens. Another important element of good governance is the transparency or the ability of the public to access information using mobile information technologies. This is helping both officials and citizens track progress on the construction of infrastructure assets, on learning outcomes for students, and on targeting of social payments through ICT and biometrics. The fourth industrial revolution offers huge potential to tackle Asia's development challenges. If we use these technologies better, the benefits of the digital revolution could be massive. New innovations like cloud computing, big data, and the Internet of Things are already improving our daily lives through their use in e-commerce, healthcare, and trade. I hope that this forum will produce recommendations on how Asia can better prepare for 4IR and for the benefits and opportunities these changes bring, and for the possibilities of equitable, inclusive, and sustainable growth. I wish you all a warm welcome to ADB and to the 2017 Digital Strategies for Development Forum. Thank you.
Opening addresses will be made by two organizers, Asia Pacific Telecom Community and Department of ICT in the Philippines. The first, I would like to invite Mrs. Arian Horanzi, Secretary General, Asia Pacific Telecommunity, for opening remarks. Asia Pacific Telecommunity is an international intergovernmental organization that has supported ICT sector development in the Asia Pacific since 1979. Under Mrs. Horanzi's leadership, APT serves as a focal organization for ICT in the region based in Bangkok. Before she joined the APT, she serves as a Deputy Permanent Secretary of Ministry of Information Communication Technology, Thailand. Without further ado, Mrs. Horanzi, please.
John Henry Naga, Assistant Secretary, Department of Information and Communications Technology, the Government of the Philippines. Mr. Stephen Grove, Vice President, Asia Development Bank. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor for me to join this DSDF 2017 and deliver these remarks. Give me great pleasure that the Asia Pacific Telecommunity APT is entrusted to co-organize this important forum this year together with the Asia Development Bank, Department of Information and Communications Technology of the Philippines, Asia Society for Social Improvement and Sustainable Transformation, ASSIST, and the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. We very much appreciate the efforts pursued by all parties with utmost enthusiasm in mobilizing resources and expertise needed to make this forum happen. As a co-organizer of DSDF 2017, I would like to sincerely thank all the organizations that contribute speakers and for each session of the forum. My appreciation also goes to all speakers who will be sharing their knowledge, expertise, and experience during these 2 days. Ladies and gentlemen, information and communication technology, or ICTs, have spread rapidly in much of the world and contribute to the development. But the broader development benefits from using these technologies have lagged behind. Although in many instances, ICT have boosted economic growth, expand opportunities for business and citizens, and improved service delivery, their aggregate impact have fallen short and distribute unevenly. I would like to mention some ICT indicators, mobile phones and internet. More households in developing countries own mobile phone than have access to electricity or clean water. And nearly 70% of the bottom fifth of the population in developing countries own a mobile phone. The internet has grown quickly. Nevertheless, it is not universal at all. 4 billion people in the world do not have any internet access. Nearly 2 billion do not use a mobile phone, and almost half a billion live outside areas with mobile signal. Perhaps making the internet universally accessible and affordable should be a global priority. As all countries are aware, the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, for 2030, approved in 2015 by United Nations, are currently underway for implementation by all stakeholders acting in collaborative partnership, in particular the unfinished task of connecting everyone to the internet, which is one of the targets in the SDG, can be achieved through this collaborative partnership. In this connection, as the Secretary General of the APT, I am extremely pleased that APT could take part in organizing this DSDF 2017 with ADB, DICT, ASSIS, and UNESCO. And I hope that this event will serve a stepping stone to materialize the cooperation among these partner organizations. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity to talk briefly about APT. For those who are not familiar with APT, as SY already mentioned, APT is an intergovernmental organization in the Asia Pacific dedicated to the development of telecommunication and ICT. APT was established by the joint initiative of the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, UNESCAP, and the International Telecommunication Union, ITU, in 1979. Currently, APT members we have 38 member states, 4 associate members, and 135 affiliate members from government, enterprise, and industry. APT has been playing 2 major roles. First, to consolidate regional view of position for the Asia Pacific for proposal to global conference, particularly in the ITU conference. And the second role is to support telecommunication ICT development in Asia Pacific region. Based on the confidence and contribution from the member, APT is now formulating new strategic plan for the upcoming 3 years, 2018-2020. I would like to share the future direction to partner organizations and their representatives to this event in order to pave the same understanding and direction in our future endeavors. For the next 3 years, APT will focus on 5 strategic pillars, namely connectivity, innovation, trust, capacity building, and partnership. These 5 strategic pillars, I believe, are closely related to sustainable development, which is of the interest of all. Therefore, APT will address the needs for development of the members with the following emphasis. Firstly, APT will assist members to increase broadband penetration with an emphasis on reaching unserved and underserved population, focusing on affordability and quality of services, and on improving speed, cost of service and coverage. Secondly, APT will continue its effort to foster development and adoption of the latest and innovative telecommunication ICT. Thirdly, APT will assist members to develop and maintain secure, trust, and resilient ICT network services, as well as to address challenges related to disaster preparedness, taking into account the vulnerability of members to national disaster and malicious cybersecurity activity. Fourthly, APT will continue our effort to strengthen the human and institutional capacity of its members. And lastly, APT will solidify strategic cooperation with relevant stakeholders and increase exchange and collaboration with the related international, regional, and multilateral organizations, as well as funding bodies to enhance cooperation for ICT development. These are what APT will focus in the next 3 years. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to conclude by wishing you a fruitful discussion and may we strengthen our cooperation in ICT so as to gain the desired outcome that we are hoping for. I would also like to express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to all of you for participating in this Digital Strategy for Development Forum 2017. I sincerely wish this forum success and also hope all of you have enjoyable stay in Manila. Thank you very much.
Next, I would like to call on Assistant Secretary John Henry Naga in behalf of Secretary Rodolfo Salarima, Department of ICT in the Philippines, for his welcome message.
Mr. Stephen Groff, the Vice President of Asian Development Bank for the East Asia, Southeast Asia, and the Pacific. Ms. Ariwan Haransi, Secretary General of the Asia Pacific Telecommunity. Honored guests, participants, good morning. Today's dynamism resonates with change as the Philippines continue to rise, becoming an economic gravitas in the ASEAN. Central to this is our recollection of the Duterte administration showcasing Build, Build, Build as the country's blueprint of priority infrastructure projects catering to the development of industries that will yield robust growth across the archipelago, create jobs, and uplift the lives of Filipinos. In the same light, we recognize the opportunities and challenges of emerging technologies that transform and empower people and economies. With the advent of information and communications technologies, our contract with the Filipino people is foremost in the achievement of the nation's goal of prosperity for all. Telecommunications and the digital transformation have effectively blurred the geographical boundaries and have driven digital economy forward in ASEAN. Comprising of 7,641 islands, the Philippine archipelago's major island groups, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, have been developing progressively. The challenge then is for us to streamline investments towards an integrated digital economy. For this reason, the Department of Information and Communications Technology, or DICT, is cognizant of the role of information in a knowledge-based society. The same is afforded to how data is priced as a government asset and a catalyst for private sector's investments. In the fulfillment of its mandate, the Department of Information and Communications Technology formulates strategies in line with industry experts, business leaders, and commercial entities to translate this vision into tangible investments in the nation's ICT sector. With the Digital Strategies for Development Forum 2017, the Philippine government shall become the prime mover of the fourth industrial revolution through broadband technologies in the lives of Filipinos, and DICT stands at the forefront of delivering e-services that answer the needs of the digital Filipino. With the application of ICTs in enhancing government's role in service delivery, public administration, and promotion of participatory democracy, digital transformation has paved the way for social progress to happen. In view of the increased public access through connectivity frameworks and digital strategies, it is high time that Philippines embrace ASEAN's culture for crafting enabling policies for ICT development. And it is with this sense of confidence that the administration of Duterte advocates for investments in the broadband ecosystem for the use of internet in the participatory democracy. The bottom line objective is to build on the experience of a multi-sector process involving government, business, civil society, and other sectors of the digital community, and to harness their energies in bringing benefits of the digital economy to all citizens. With these digital strategies as our foundation for development, together with the Asian Development Bank, the Asia Society for Social Improvement and Sustainable Transformation, UNESCO, and the Asia-Pacific Telecommunity, we can create a truly digital society that reflects our values, supports greater political cooperation among the many diverse people and cultures in the Asia-Pacific region. Cheers for a successful DSDF 2017 and mabuhay po tayong lahat. Thank you.
We do hope that you already got the chance to visit the exhibit area along the cafeteria hallway. If you haven't yet, the breaks later, we'd like to invite you to Globe Telecom and ASUS. They were generous enough to give out some exciting raffle items. So after lunch today and tomorrow, we will announce a total of 30 winners of the gifts from our sponsors and partners. Again, be sure to drop by the cafeteria hallway, visit the booths there. Let us now listen and give a warm welcome to the keynote presentation of Managing Partner of Kaizen Private Equity, Mr. Sandeep Aneja.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a pleasure to be speaking in front of this amazing audience on the relevant and timely topic, the fourth industrial revolution. I thank the Asian Development Bank, ASSIST, and the various organizers of this event, which I think is much timely as we stand at the brink of significant change. As way of introduction, I started Kaizen Private Equity, which happens to be Asia's leading education-oriented investor based out of Singapore. So, we find ourselves today at the brink of a tech-led revolution which has already started changing the way we think, work, and interact with each other. Let's take an example. If today we are asked a very simple question, which is the most populous country in the world, the answer is really obvious. It's China today, right? Maybe India, getting there. But fast forward a few years into the future, the answer may be different. Imagine this, the largest
taxi company in the world does not own a single taxi, Uber. The largest hotel company in the world does not own a single hotel room, Airbnb. It is pointing towards a trend. That trend's been going on for a long time. The trend is that the value of owning an asset is depleting over time. The value is shifting to the platform owner that sits above the asset. Now let's bring that example back to which is the most populous country. If a country is an aggregation of assets, people, land masses, buildings, etc., then is it possible that a cloud sitting above the country, which is the platform that manages the country, could become more powerful than the country itself? Is it possible that people who call themselves citizens of a particular country may also have similar loyalty towards that particular cloud up in the air? Ladies and gentlemen, that started to happen already. This platform, for example, one of them is Facebook. It has 2 billion citizens or so. In the future, what would be the answer to the question of the most populous country? It may be a bit challenging. We may pause a bit before we take that answer so quickly. So what is the point of this? The point is that many lines that we take for granted today are going to get blurred. Many new opportunities will arise. And what's true is that disruption will be the new norm. It already is. I'd like to point your attention to the 4 industrial revolutions so far. The first one, harness steam power to bring some level of production capability, mechanization. The second one, harnessed electricity to bring automation, bring mass production to happen. The third one used electronics and digital power to bring mass automation. The fourth one, however, we sit at the brink of bringing in a lot more efficiency and intelligence to the table. If there is one word that describes the first 3 revolutions, it is efficiency. If there is one word that describes the current revolution, it is intelligence. It's a market shift, and this requires a paradigm shift in our thinking processes as well. This is a chart by the BCG, which has done quite a bit of work on the 4th Industrial Revolution. And according to this, there are 9 technologies which are coming together to deliver to us the current Industrial Revolution. Whether this is the complete set of all technologies that will create the Industrial Revolution in the very end, don't know. Whether this is going to be a number that's 9 or 5 or 20, we do not know that yet. All we know is that these technologies are way more powerful than the 1 or 2 technologies that created the first, second, and the third revolutions. That they are, for the first time, many technologies are working together to empower this revolution. The speed of change, the velocity of change, and the amount of change is going to be immense. We should not underestimate where we are headed. My talk today is going to focus on 4 topics: manufacturing, business, jobs and education, and at the very end, governance. Manufacturing is one of the largest value creators historically of any economy. The amount of change that the sector has gone through over the last 3 revolutions is most notable. Today, the manufacturing sector is ready for mass customization, where we can ultimately produce a batch size of 1. And on-demand manufacturing will exist. An impact of that is the requirement to not carry inventory at the beginning of finished goods or at the end, at the beginning of raw goods or at the end of finished goods. That changes the whole makeup of a factory in the future. There is going to be a whole lot more productivity, and there is going to be a whole lot more predictability, and we shall not be required to have trial and error balances of our inventories anymore. The current sort of industrial rationale assumes that the more we produce, the less the cost per good. So increasing batch sizes is very important. It's an important part of reducing the cost of production of a good. However, that rationale is getting challenged. today with new manufacturing technologies, you can lower the cost of a single customized item by producing a batch of one. If that is true, then what does it mean for the cost of production in the long run? Also, if you look at current economic downturns, when a downturn occurs, a factory is lagging in its ability to match to the reducing demand. In this lag phase, inventories build up, so much so that the factories go into cost-cutting mode and workers are fired. In the future, there is a whole lot more predictability of when demand will go down and when to reduce production, when to manage the workforce. That predictability is where we are heading. But that's a utopian situation where we can produce mass customized items at very low cost. The journey to that utopian situation is full of challenges. Larger companies, which have so far been dominant players in the world, will have to reinvent themselves from the very core, while they are challenged by much smarter, innovative younger players. It is many large companies will have to make very tough choices. Some of these choices are akin to as if losing a limb to save the body kind of choices. That may happen. However, there is a bright side to all of this. There will be an increase in return on capital invested. According to Roland Berger, the ROCE will go up from 15% to 40% for a typical auto manufacturer, which is based today in the Greater Europe. The profitability will double. But a lot of this will be achieved at the back of reducing staff almost by 50%. So factories have to reinvent. Factories have to be nimble and have to be ready to take on the challenge of mass customization in a single plant. According to the World Economic Forum, however, about 7 million jobs will be lost by 2020. According to Roland Berger, 15 million jobs will be lost by 2025. However, let's talk about something more positive. How things are getting better for us and why we as consumers will clearly benefit. If you imagine the world of manufacturing today, most of manufacturing technology today is subtractive, where you take a block and shave away and create the item which is of utility to you. Where particle by particle, using the precision of a 3D printer or a 3D printer-like device, you can pretty much create anything of a single size, of a single item. Not only can you produce a single item, you can produce a single item with a whole lot more precision. The items which are strategically important, very difficult to create, are intrinsically difficult with multiple parts, can be created as a single part and very accurately. For example, the aircraft fuel nozzle, which is considered one of the most difficult parts to manufacture, is now already being manufactured using 3D printing. What does that mean for us? What it means for us is that those of you who stood in line for perhaps the rare, the limited edition iPhone 7 Plus Red won't have to do that. You could totally print order it and on demand, it'll come up to you. So stockpiles, away. Inventories, gone. You're standing at night confused at iPhone, iOS, gone. Changes the world quite a bit. So what is happening essentially at this current moment in manufacturing systems? Manufacturing systems are gearing up to add intelligence to items to which electrification was done in the last two revolutions. So it's from electrification to ognification. That's where we are headed. If things become intelligent, then what do we humans do? What are we good at? Well, so this is what's said by some much smarter people, that we human beings are really good at being lazy. We're really good at being inefficient. We're really good at conducting inefficient tasks such as thinking and singing in the shower, sitting on the beach, tweeting, falling in love, and creating problems for everybody when we have nothing to do. Or we're really good at utilizing that laziness to create things which make us more lazy. So, I will point your attention to these quotes. there is a lot of reality in these quotes. We have, over the years, invented things which make us lazier and lazier. So, what shall we do in the future? In the future, we shall be working closely with the bots while they mass produce what we think in our lazy times to create. That's the joint venture we will have to come up with. We'll have to think in terms of being creators of objects while the manufacturing part is done by the machines. So, where are we headed with all of this? As the cost of labor goes down, as people's cost as part of a manufacturing setup goes down, as machines become more intelligent and smaller, the overall cost of production will go down. In fact, in 2018, the cost of production of a typical good in China will equal that in the US. So that means significant change in where factories are located. There's no longer an advantage to offshoring factories in the future. A lot of the factories will come back to consumer markets where they'll go back home. You could imagine in the long-term scenario a situation where people have small factories and they're producers and the other set of people are consumers. And the distance between them could be miles, not thousands of miles. That's the world that we're looking at in the future. Goods movements will go down. There will be smaller factories which will be not power hungry but intelligence hungry. They'll be more environmentally friendly. The goods movement on the big seas will go down, resulting in better environment situations as well. So we can expect a lot of benefits to the environment as we get into this deeper into the next revolution. So, is this all going to happen in a hurry? The world's pretty diverse. There are segments of society that exist today. About 50% do not have access to the internet as of now. About 15 to 20% have not seen electricity. What that means is that they're still in the second and third revolutions, while we speak here of the fourth. How do we look at the digital divide and the economic divide that exists today, and how do we ensure it doesn't further widen as we now currently have a society that lives in second, third, and fourth revolutions? That's a big challenge. We've got to think about this more collectively. This is an example. When I look at other conference materials, I often come across graphs which talk about the reduction in productivity. But that graph almost always refers to developed economies. Yes, there is reduction of productivity in developed economies like US, Germany, other parts of the world. But the rest of the world, which comprises the majority, hasn't seen that. Then this is an indication of the fact that many developing economies and frontier economies are still realizing productivity increases through second and third revolutions coming to them for the first time. This is an example of where we sit today and what challenges we will face in the future. Now I'll move on to the second topic of my conversation today, which is business. The world of business and trade focuses on the premise of globalization. Globalization has entered a new era. East-West partnerships, East-West trade based on skill sets we've developed in those two geographies are becoming more and more prominent. Will that be true in the future? Or will we be forced to look at our neighbor and work with them more closely as new technologies will develop and make new opportunities happen near shore? We'll have to be in greater coordination with our neighbors, our provinces, our regions. Trade will come back home as well over time. I cannot imagine a world in the future where Japanese cars are sitting on the US borders waiting for approvals by customs. That's not going to happen in the future. How many years? We shall see, but that's certainly not going to happen. What's also not going to happen is that perhaps building a wall around the country is no longer needed. It's perhaps too late for that. That ship sailed. But we will potentially be able to conduct meetings in the world of business with each other in a holographic fashion. You may not have to fly to Paris to vote no. on a climate change accord. You could do it from a hologram city. According to Keynes, the renowned economist, the cost of labor was supposed to go down dramatically over the years, resulting in severe unemployment. The first three revolutions scared us, each one of them scared us, saying, well, people will lose jobs. Many articles were written, hypotheses were floated. None of them came true. Could this time be different? Are we now looking at a revolution which could ultimately result in job losses en masse? Well, so what is happening right now? The biggest fears of job loss are automation and artificial intelligence. If you look at the potential of losing jobs in a couple of areas, one is the set of drivers who will potentially lose their jobs to driverless cars. We expect this change to occur by 2030, particularly in commercial driving and later on in passenger driving. So what do we need to do? Well, perhaps we don't need to get a license anymore very soon. We can focus on other things. Chatbots might replace people sitting in BPOs. A bit of that is starting to occur inside the computer through algorithms determining, based on the questions sent by the customers, what particular answers can be automated. The chatbots already there in your computer. And those with ordinary skills will be further challenged. To be successful, we will have to aim to be extraordinary. We will have to aim to be the creators of goods that others consume. The people that will succeed in this particular revolution are those that invest, invent, and consume. The people that shall have challenges are those that look at the normal daily average life. Life will change. Another concept I bring forth for discussion is a concept of skill evolution cycle. While we were growing up, my generation, typical technologies took years to evolve. Obsolescence was years. We did not think of things changing so rapidly that today things evolve within months. In the future, obsolescence might be within weeks. What does it mean for us as people who produce many of those things, who conduct those jobs? We will have to be ready. We will have to have the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn at a very rapid pace, such that we are ready for the next evolutionary opportunity as the skills change. We cannot imagine a reality. When we were growing up in college, if you were interested in a computer language, you could learn BASIC, COBOL, C, etc. And those languages' syntax lasted for decades. That syntax changed. You have higher level languages today which evolve at the pace of one prominent language a year. It has a different ability in writing different kinds of products, different kinds of code. If you wish to be a computer programmer, a lot of the work that was intrinsically hard in developing logic will stay with you. A lot of the work that's repetitive in creating a repetition of algorithms will go away from you. So you're going to have to learn how to think creatively and capture that in a mechanism which is new to you because it evolved yesterday. That requires the ability to learn. You'll have to learn much more rapidly. So a lot of these skills that embody the ability to learn are captured here. Many of them will also gather pace, and that will be the challenge that an education system faces today. What is happening in the higher ed environment today? Let's take an example of a typical university. It's got the requirement to admit students, evaluate them, teach them, and get them jobs. The core of a university, however, is to train them and evaluate them. The non-core activities are already getting unbundled. A lot of the activities which the university had insourced are getting outsourced. MIT, Stanford, Harvard, etc., and many universities in the US, others as well, the UK, Australia, are already started and have already started massive open online communities such as edX and edX Cloud, Coursera, etc. These are not experiments. They have realized that they are going to get disrupted. They have embraced that opportunity, and it is part of their future. there will be a whole new MIT on the cloud, a Stanford on the cloud, another university on the cloud. It's a requirement. What does that mean to accreditation, to credit transfer, to student migration? Remains to be seen, but all of it will change. To wrap up the jobs and skills section, I'd like to point your attention to a survey conducted by Bloomberg of about 1,320 job recruiters at more than 600 companies of about 100-odd business schools. I want to point your attention to the 4 quadrants. The quadrant on the bottom right is about more common skills, which are more desired. So you don't have to struggle too hard to find individuals. These are MBA graduates. These are not normal individuals because they are blessed with what they've learned so far in their lives. So many of the things that we consider today that don't fit this paradigm, it's because our paradigm is different. We need to think about the MBA graduates. What is important is that less common, less desired are the skills such as industry-related work experience and adaptability. Nobody will care about that in MBA graduates in the future. What's important and what's less common and most desired are strategic thinking, leadership, problem solving, creativity. That's where the value lies today and in the future. That's where we need to focus our efforts. Goes back to the point of curriculum design. Curriculum design cannot be in a vacuum. It has to be where the industry, the student academic body, and the technology come together to create a set of learning objectives which are best fulfilled in a massive fashion, in an affordable fashion for people around the world. It's already started happening, and we expect this to gather further pace. The last topic of my talk today is on governance and governing. Very often the role of technology in governing and governance is limited, is not understood very clearly. How can a government think of governing an entire region in an expanding digital space which requires accountability, transparency, and instant communication? We've seen the effects of that in the last 20 years. That's already a challenge. How can that be further made difficult with a digital currency, with factories coming back home? If trading was no longer with the US or China, but with your nearby province or state, if the divide between the haves and have-nots became even wider, which it is starting to become, how does a government overcome that challenge? Within the area of focusing on this challenge is a requirement to focus on framing of regulations. How can an education institution and a government work together to manage the accreditation of university where most of the students are foreign and not even on that land? The learning on the digital sky, how can you control that accreditation? That's a challenge already. We're struggling with it. How do you form a national policy around education of international students who are enrolled in your universities on the cloud? As the changes become more rapid and complex, we don't have the luxury to sit and respond. We have to be more proactive. The government has to work with other governments, local governments, and the private sector to be able to understand and come up with regulations which are relevant globally and also much more so locally. So I'd like to come to a conclusion of the conversation. This particular revolution essentially represents the time where we are cognifying things, making them more intelligent. AI and intelligence is all around us. Google Ads, Siri, they're both based on AI. Boeing's self-piloting plane and Netflix's recommendations, absolutely leveraging our patterns, our behaviors, and learning more and creating much more valuable personalized options for us than we ever had. We are all hopeful that these entities result in a better inclusive future for us. How do we determine, how do we control a path to that particular future is a critical part. One of the things that we've got to attain is that we've got to ensure that the level of intelligence we bring into the cities, the countries, regions, and people provides us all the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn repeatedly and rapidly. Every entity should develop that ability over time. So what do we do? Well, let's go back to being lazy. Let's go back to being better parents. Let's go back to being better creators, better innovators, and to being people who have better empathy for each other. As we are challenged by the fourth industrial revolution, the importance of the human qualities that make us human becomes that much more. We've got to have the ability to understand different cultures, different languages, different religions, different societies, and different economic divides. It becomes a whole lot more important today than it was earlier. So, I'd like to encourage us to leverage the power of the machines that we have created and we will create in the future, to work with each other across all sorts of divides, to determine and effect a much better future for us with the fourth industrial revolution, as the challenges are too many. Thank you.